y'all, I'm Hope here at Crafty Hope and welcome. It's time for my week 44 mixed media prompt project for hashtag Crafty Hope prompts. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this. I am on week 44, so there's a whole playlist here at the end of the video of all the other prompts, cards I've made and projects I've made along with some other people who have participated. Basically, back in October, I decided to start building a prompt deck using a regular deck of 52 playing cards, plus a couple jokers. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with those yet. And a list of 156 prompts. Now, there are 52 weeks also in a year, so that means that I can pull 3 prompts a week. And I've been doing that. Each Monday, I pull 3 prompts and I alter a playing card. One side is my functional side with those prompts that I pulled, and I use those prompts to alter both sides of my cards. I have one that's more decorative and one that has the prompts. At the end of these 52 weeks, I'll have a full deck of prompt cards. But I don't want to just make cards. So each Saturday, in addition to the card, I use those same 3 prompts each Saturday to do a different project, something other than the card. Sometimes it's an art journal page, sometimes it's junk journals, art journals. I've done, what did I do this past week? I've done little wall hangings, I've done jewelry, I've done assemblages, I've done all kinds of fun things. You'll have to look at that playlist and see. So this past week I made this prompt card with the prompts Orange, Scraps, and Yearbook. And I think I'm going to make another tag this week. I had full aspirations to do a larger wall hanging assemblage project, but I want to admit to you that I've begun to run out of time this week. It has totally gotten away from me, and so I was like, let me just keep it small and see what happens. The iCAD has ended. If you haven't seen my iCAD vlog series, well, tomorrow will be the last day of that series. So iCADs have just ended, and I've kind of taken the time to try to get some things in order around me. So this card and this project has totally gotten away from me. I'm going to tell you what I've gathered to work on my tag, and we're going to get to it. So for orange, I have this piece of, it's a fabric sample that I put together my free motion foot on my, what do you call it, sewing machine, and did some fun stitches just to test it out. And I picked the orange fabric knowing my prompt this week was orange. Maybe I could use that. I also found this orange flower that I was sent in Happy Mail, and that was from, oh my goodness, y'all, that it's fallen out of my head. I will put that information below or put it down here when I can come up with it. My goodness. Okay, yeah. So that's orange, and actually the fabric came from her as well. Why can't I think? Y'all, crazy. For scraps, I do have one of my buckets of many scraps here. All kinds of stuff. Like I said, I've been cleaning up, so all kinds of additional stuff has recently got thrown in here. I probably need to shuffle this a little bit. So that is scraps. And then Yearbook. I went into my box of focals and went ahead and just pulled out some scraps. This was the other side of the picture that she came out of. And I think those girls are kind of great. But then I've got some other ones. I mean, I think these are all from that guy. I've got this little one here with these guys. I don't know quite what I'm going to do yet. We're going to figure this out. So those are my 3 prompts. Orange, scraps, Yearbook. I've got my tag. I'm going to just get to it. I'm going to stop talking because I'm yammering. I was indeed yammering. Anyway, I am going to begin with my scraps. So I'm pulling out a selection of things I don't know, being pulled in my direction. So all kinds of stuff. This is some kind of map page that's got some Payne's Gray on it. I've got inside of a security envelope. I've got, in a second, I've got a piece of, I think maybe black construction paper that I had stamped onto with some bleach, book pages, rust-dyed music. I don't know, all kinds of, that one's the neat one, the construction paper with the bleach on it. Oh my goodness, y'all. I need to try that again. Anyway, and I'm using my Oohoo glue stick, and since the prompt is scrapped, I am going to go ahead and just cover this entire tag with the scraps. And there's some pattern paper to, like in a sewing pattern. My words are still failing me. So all right, so I'm going to cover all this up. I'm trying not to leave anything open, and I really didn't have any ideas. This was kind of a delay. I like starting things with collage anyway because it gets my hands busy, kind of gets me in the groove of creating and sticking things down while I think about what my next steps are going to be and how I'm going to use this prompt. Now, I did cover up the hole in this, and y'all, I couldn't find a hole punch, so I just grabbed that's one of my jewelry tools and so it was a pokey thing I could find immediately to punch that hole out. In my scrap box, I did have some painty reinforcers, so I just stuck that over the top. I started to stick one on the back, but I'm less concerned about the back of this. So I'm going to clean up this area real quick and start thinking about what I want to do with this. I think I go ahead and start by putting down, oh no, I'm going to cut down this bit of fabric. Now this is some really nice, it could be silk or something, y'all. It's really nice. And I have to thank Susan. I did think of her name there for sending me so many goodies. And this worked out perfect in so many ways. Now, y'all, I'm also going to tell y'all that this came together, y'all. I keep saying y'all, I wanted a simple, quick project because, like I said, I was running behind on things, but this tag turned out way better than I thought it could have. So I'm super happy with it. I got a little inventive, got a little experimental, and it worked out in my favor so much. So you can see I'm kind of moving this around. I had done that little bit of stitching. I wasn't digging the the zigzag cut on the bottom. What is that called? I can't think of that. The words not coming to me. So I cut that into just a little square and I put it aside, and now I'm putting down a little bit of gesso and I have my brayer. I'm going to try, I don't want to push all of that to the background. I just want everything to be a little more, as I say all the time, cohesive. I want it to all kind of work together, feel like that it's all on the same page. Now that piece of, it was like rust-dyed music paper or whatever that I put down, so super brittle. As I was rolling it, it was like, yeah, coming up and sticking it to my brayer. So I was having to peel it off my brayer. But it gave an additional bit of texture on there that I thought was kind of great. So I dried this and I looked at it and I felt, okay, it needs something, some darkening, something a little aged to it. So of course I'm going to reconstitute my instant coffee and take just a floppy brush and get it in there and do a little bit of splatter right on my card and then dry it. And that's all I've done with the coffee, but I want the edges to also be darkened because again, all of that still isn't feeling completely cohesive. So I've got some walnut stain distress oxide that I'm going to ink the edges and then use a paintbrush to kind of activate and blend into it. Now this does reactivate that coffee as well, but I'm not too fussy about that. That's fine. It's just gonna add to it. So I'll try this one more time, y'all. And I really was like, okay, all I really need to do is stick some stuff down here and I'm done. So, but it needed movement. Instead of using the pencil that I usually use, I went into my Derwent Inktense pencils, watercolor pencils, and found I think it's deep indigo is the color. It's like Payne's Gray pretty much. And I'm going to activate it. I did some scribbles and I'm going to come in and just activate portions of it. I do this often with a Stabilo, but I wanted that kind of Payne's Gray dark color in there as well. So that's why I decided to use it. And I know that blue tends to be across the color wheel from orange, and so it makes it a complementary color. So I was like, well, that works perfect. So I start moving my things around. I really wanted to use both that little square of fabric and that orange flower somehow. And I started looking at all my little yearbook pictures I had pulled out, and I didn't like any of them. They weren't the right size. They weren't, I don't know, I didn't like them. So I went and pulled out another yearbook. I've got quite the stash of them. and found a girl that I like, and I'm going to cut her out real quick. And I find that she's also still a bit too large for what I want. And instead of going to grab another yearbook, I'm just going to like cut out her shape, just fussy cut around her so that, excuse me, so that it kind of makes her a little bit smaller, not as wide or whatever. And as I'm doing that, I'm like, okay, she's kind of great. But I couldn't quite figure out how I wanted to put that fabric down with her. I didn't want to cover up all of my stitching. And so I'm going to move these pieces around. And as I do, so I'm going to put them this way and this way. And once I put her right there at the top of that, I'm like, oh, hey, wait, what if that was a pocket and she slipped in and out of that pocket? So I was like, okay, to do that, I need to add something to the bottom of her. And I can still put my flower over the top of that somehow and put her back here. You can see the wheels are turning, y'all. The wheels are turning. So the first thing I wanted to do was go ahead and extend her. So I reached into my box of scraps and I've got this little, y'all, I'm not real sure what that is. One of my online friends sent me a whole stack of them and I keep using them in things. But it's a scrap. That one's got some coffee on it, it looks like. So I'm going to use it, but I also need to go ahead and turn this into a pocket. So I used my Fabri-Tac, put it on 3 sides of it, and basically made it a pocket. Now I think my regret in this is I could have gone a little bit further and done some stitching and actually stitched it to the tag, but that's okay. So I was trying to figure out how to attach that flower to the pocket without compressing the pocket completely. And I thought maybe a staple, but I don't really care for staples, and my staple, that little stapler wouldn't fit in there. So I was like, you know what? I'll figure out something else. So I did take my pencil there to kind of pop the pocket up to make sure it wasn't getting stuck down. And I'm testing things out over and over again. That little slip needed to be cut down so it would slide in a little bit better. And I'm looking at like where she needs to be for it. I really just enjoyed the process of this. So I did cut down that little, I don't know what it is, some kind of ticket or slip or something. And once I get it cut down a little bit more, I'm going to just put, because this is just paper to paper, use my Oohoo, glue her to it, and then trim off the excess that's kind of behind her shoulders because I don't really want that showing. This is more about her and just kind of extending that little bit. Now it has this color on it. It's like a red orange on there. So I was like, hey, that's orange too. So that works out great. And I do want to kind of hide the writing that's on there once I get this all trimmed just the way I want. And I'm looking at things, trying to decide how I want them. And decide to go ahead and ink up the edges of her. I didn't really ink the edges of the card. I was less concerned about it. And what else am I going to do? I think I go ahead and I'm going to take that colored pencil, the watercolor pencil, and scribble on it so that it has a little bit of that same blue on there. Like I said, I just wanted some of, and there I dipped into my coffee as well. I just wanted to obscure the writing because the writing on this is not important. So I wanted to kind of push it back. So I'll try that super quick. And once it's dry, I'm going to test it again, y'all. There was a lot of testing to make sure that she slipped in and out. And I'm going to look at where the placement of my little flower, use my Fabri-Tac, and I'm only I'm only applying the Fabri-Tac to a couple little spots on my flower because I want it to just barely be attached to that pocket and to the card. And I can come back later and add more glue if I need to, if I think that's necessary. And I'm leaving that to hang off the card a little bit to give it a little more dimension and be less blocky. And again, I'm using my colored pencil to make sure, actually I'm using it to press the glue against the fabric so it doesn't stick to the card or stick to her. And then I need a sentiment because that's what I decided needs to be on there so that when you pull her out, it says something. So I'm going to mess around with that. I found this little slip of an index card that had been typed on that says, "For the love of life." So I will cut it down so it fits on my little, I don't know what to call that thing, the little card thing. And I'll ink the edges just like I did before. And that is some walnut ink distress Walnut Stain Distress ink. That's what it is. Walnut Stain Distress ink, not oxide. And ink all of that, and again, use my Oohoo to stick that on there. And y'all, I'm coming to the end of this now. I've just got a couple more touches to add to it, and I think that really is just going to be to add a slip of that orange fabric in the top of my tag to finish it off. So I'm gonna start to try to get this longer piece, but the fabric doesn't tear that way. It's like the grain of it doesn't go that way. So it just, yeah, I get this tiny little snippet that I'll use for something else later. So I have this other piece instead, and I'm looking at which way the grains, I guess, of the fabric go, which way it'll tear better. And I will fold it in half and do a lark's head knot, pushing where it loops in and then slipping the other ends through it and then pulling it up carefully. And that's going to be it for my week 44 mixed media prompt project using orange scraps in Yearbook. I really wanted to make something simple and quick, and I had no idea it was going to turn out so beautifully. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and let me know if you've got any questions. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I hope that you go away inspired and to participate. All right, guys, I'll see you later. Bye.